Have you ever wondered why some people are always like considered to be top performers, while others are just like, well, there to be part of the team, normal? Part of the reasons why people who are top performers remain top performers is because they understand the impact of not missing any deadline, no matter how benign that deadline is, whether it is internal deadline, external deadline, clients related deadlines, or their personal deadlines. They are accountable to every timeline they have committed to and agreed to. And that is what I want to talk to you about today: the importance of starting your projects early, and some tips and tricks that you need to have at the back of your mind that will help you and that will pitch you as a top performer in your organization. Hello, let's talk about starting your projects early. As a career professional, it is very important that you meet your deadlines. You don't want to get to a point where you're associated with missed deadlines, being on the naughty list, always being called out for not doing something, and all of those kind of things. You just want to avoid them. Have you ever wondered why some people are always like considered to be top performers, while others are just like, well, there to be part of the team, normal? Part of the reasons why people who are top performers remain top performers is because they understand the impact of not missing any deadline, no matter how benign that deadline is, whether it is internal deadline, external deadline, clients related deadlines, or their personal deadlines. They are accountable to every timeline they have committed to and agreed to. And that is what I want to talk to you about today: the importance of starting your projects early, and some tips and tricks that you need to have at the back of your mind that will help you and that will pitch you as a top performer in your organization. Now, my very best cue for you is this: if it looks and sounds ridiculously too early to start, that is exactly when you should be starting. So, say a project would typically take 4 months to complete. If you start 6 months earlier, just doing like the planning, doing bits and pieces, arranging to have your team set up, to have it all resourced, and whatever it is that you need, the vendors all standing where they need to be, and everybody just ready to go, and all of those initial processes that would have taken maybe a week or two, if you had started at the right considered right time to start, you would have done them before then, and you can have more time. So if it sounds ridiculously too early to start, that is exactly when you should be starting your projects. Okay, you also want the flexibility where you're able to approach your project with new and innovative ideas and strategies without the added pressure of a ticking clock. Now, what this basically means for you is this: that the way a project was done previously, or the way that sort of project was done previously, can always be improved upon, and you always have new ideas, and members of your team will always have new ideas. Now, if you start your projects early, it's so easy for everybody to incorporate all of these new and valuable ideas into that project without thinking about time. But if you do not start early, all you'll be thinking about is how to meet the deadline, and you're not really thinking about the innovation, the creativity, the added value you could be giving to that same project. So eventually you'll be delivering a project that is suboptimal because you have not lived that project, or you've not ensured that that project is done to the fullest potential that it could basically get to. So you want to think about that. Now, another reason why you should start your project early is if anything goes wrong along the line, you want to have enough time to be able to respond to that kind of situation without losing the quality of your work. Now, it's just like the concept of volatility, right? You want to make sure, if you have a long term sort of span to get through, a long-term span for like an investment or whatever, no matter the short-term volatility, you don't really care. In terms of the prices moving up and down for a stock, for instance, you don't really care because you have a long-term span. But if your time span is very short, you will care about those short-term volatility. The same applies to your project. If you have long-term sort of horizon, and you have that sort of long term, you've started your project early, pretty much, you will be able to see those, pain points, those issues coming on, and you'll be able to respond to those issues to your satisfaction, rather than just rushing up issues and sometimes overlooking some issues because you've just said this issue isn't so much, so don't let us attend to this issue because we don't have time. And that issue in the moment may be benign, but later may actually escalate and blow up in everybody's faces. So make sure that you have that at the back of your mind, that for you to be able to respond to the issues coming up, you need enough time without losing the quality of your work. Okay, another one is you need to be able to smoothen the tide, which is basically you want your team members and yourself to have normal working hours, enjoy the project. There is no need to rush anything. If you spread those hours that you have spent on that project across a longer period of time, instead of having to do ridiculous amount of work under insane pressure in a tight time frame. And that's going to basically, if you have that longer time frame, it's going to improve your mental health, it's going to improve your team's mental health and their physical health, and everybody just enjoys working on a project with you. So you don't want a situation where instead of starting a project 6 months ago, you just cram it up all in a month and nobody's getting any kind of sleep and it's just all over the place and you're not even getting the kind of quality you would wish you had gotten out of that project. Okay. You also need enough time for fine details. Sometimes it is the icing on the cake that sells the work and that basically showcases the sort of technical capabilities of those who worked on that project. Is the fine details, is the small details. Now if you're working in a rush, you would have little to no time for you to basically polish the work that you've done, make it more beautiful, probably send it to a designer, get all the graphics in, do it so well, polish it, but if you start early, you'll be able to make enough time for this sort of detail. Okay, so have that at the back of your mind when you are having to walk through any project. If you start early, you will be able to do all of that. Okay, when you start early, you can see the issues that you need to see early on that project, and others. So when you see those issues early, you can start talking about those issues early. Then others will start having to play catch up with you because you have seen those issues ahead of time, and it sort of pictures you as someone who knows what they are doing. Okay, and it also puts you there as the person in charge or as someone in control just because you've started earlier. So you want to have that at the back of your mind. Now, irrespective of your position within your team, your ability to clamor for an early start of any project will get you respect. Okay, and that energy will be widespread within your team. So if you want that respect from your team members, even from more senior team members, you need to be saying, we need to start on time, we need to get this started, we don't want to rush at the end, can we bring some of our work forward? You need to be having those type of conversations, and you will be taken seriously and you'll be respected on your team. Now, I can almost tell that some people will be like, well, my team, they will say they can shut me down, whatever. Trust me, except for someone who is not okay, there is no way you would be having those kind of conversations, even as a junior team member, even though they may sound snobbish, but they still know that you are adding a lot of value and your words have impact and you know what you're doing. So that is still going to come back to be a positive ideal for you when they're thinking about your promotion or they're thinking about your feedback, for instance, because you kept talking about starting things early and being tidy towards a project and the rest. So don't feel like, oh, they don't listen to me. You keep saying the truth, you keep pursuing what you need to pursue, and leave the rest, leave whatever else anybody is saying. That shouldn't really bother you, pretty much. Okay, so if your projects have multiple levels of review, so after you've done your work, your immediate boss needs to review, his own boss needs to review, probably needs to go to the CFO or to the CEO or whatever. If you start early enough, it gives you all enough time to go through that review process, get all the feedback, work on the feedback, make sure that your work is tidy and all of that. That just helps everybody. Okay, that just helps everybody. So you want to make sure that you're starting your projects early so that all of that can happen for you. Now there's a special pro tip from me. If there is a bigger external sort of cut off date timeline, always have your own timeline that you're working towards, and make sure you're disciplined towards that timeline that you're working towards. It takes discipline to start early when there is no immediate tangible need for it, but I want you to build that muscle up because it is a smart skill that you need to have. Okay, thank you very much and see you in the next video. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video. I'm sure you enjoyed it and you learned something during the course of watching this video. If you liked everything you saw, please subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications so you can get notified every time a new video is dropped, to inspire and for you to take action. Also like, share and comment so that others can also see this and benefit from it. Thank you and see you in the next one.